Welcome to Level Up, a podcast for independent artists navigating the Asian music industry. I'm your host, Giselle Koh. I'm a music journalist, the founder of platform Asian Pop Weekly, and an all-around Mandopop nerd. Join me in taking control of your career as an artist, and I'll show you how to make the most of it. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Level Up podcast. I'm your host, Giselle. I'm the founder of Asian Pop Weekly. I'm also a music industry professional who has worked across the Southeast Asian, Greater China regions. And I'm here to help you guys navigate the Asian music industry as independent artists. This episode, we're going to continue on this PR topic that we've been on. So last episode, we talked about electronic press kits, the ins and outs, best practices. This week, we're just going to do a short little episode about sourcing for media platforms to reach out to collaborate with, and what's the best way to really be effective in your approach. If we look at the big picture of how public relations works, because this is an area that I have a little bit of experience in, basically, you put together your electronic press kit, your press release, and you reach out to platforms. And it's really about the skill with which you target the platforms that you're looking for and the way that you reach out and you communicate to them. That's where the real skill lies in PR. And I know that there's a lot of independent artists out there who feel like this is very daunting for them. They feel like they need a publicist to help them. They need someone to help them to negotiate those deals or like get those features or whatever it is. But when push comes to shove, sometimes you just don't have the resources at that point in time to get yourself there. You know, publicists are not cheap. It's something that you would invest in when you have a clearer idea of your business model and your revenue as an artist. And if you don't have that idea or that visibility, then it can really become dangerous, because it can be like you're throwing your money into a black hole and you have zero visibility because you don't have that experience of doing these things for yourself to understand whether or not what this publicist is doing for you is effective, if they are actually helping you to get the reach that is converting into streams or converting into revenue or whatever it is that you need to grow as an artist. So that's where we wanted to start to change the mindset with independent artists. You need to think about it as, it's not that it's something that you're bad at and you can never become good at it. Even if you don't like it, I think it's still worth trying to understand the whole publicity process for yourself and try it once or twice, because then you'll have a better idea. Once you start to get to a stage where you can grow your team, you'll start to have a better idea of like what you're looking for. So when it comes down to sourcing for media platforms, there's two different approaches. There's like the cast your net wide approach, and obviously you're only going to convert like a very, very small amount of like media platforms who might come back to you, right? But there is another approach, which is the more targeted and like quality approach. And honestly, there's like pros and cons of each of these approaches. But for me personally, as someone who doesn't have a lot of time, and also I like to play to my strengths, and I feel that my strength is communication. So I would prefer to go more with the targeted and tailored approach. And I think that that's something that will work well for a lot of independent artists as well. Because as an independent artist, you don't necessarily need like, the New York Times or like the billboards to like feature you. And that's not necessarily possible as well. If you're thinking about reaching out to a niche audience that is really, really gonna understand and appreciate your music or like the article that is gonna be put out, then we might be looking more at like grassroots blogs, smaller media platforms, but with an angle on like featuring the kind of music that you like in particular. And you may already have some idea of who those platforms are gonna be off the top of your head, because maybe you've seen other friends featured on them and you're like, oh, that's really cool, like this platform looks really interesting, I hope that I can be featured on them one day. Or based on your personal preference or based on platforms that people that you look up to, artists that you look up to, have been featured on before, you're like, okay, this is the roadmap for me. This is a platform that I want to be featured on. So the first step would be to use those ideas to get yourself a list. So get yourself, like, it could be just 5 or like 10. And this is where you start to build your list of leads. You start with these really key concept of these are the kinds of platforms that I want to reach out to. And then from there, you expand by looking at, I don't know, like other media platforms which are associated with these artists or who have featured these artists that you like, be it your friends or your network or artists that you feel are similar to you or artists that you really look up to. You can also look at other media platforms that are in that similar space. So sometimes you could even go to a media platform that you really like and you think they're really grassroots and really supportive of the other communities around them, if they're like grassroots blogs or something. You could go into the followings, who they're following, what kinds of blogs there are. You can go into Instagram recommendations. You could go into YouTube recommendations if you're looking at visual content as well, creating visual content with a creator. And then from there, you'll just rely on like the algorithms to give you what you need, because you're searching, and then you can go through your recommended list or like recommended people to follow on Instagram. Use the algorithms to your advantage so you don't have to work hard. So what you're doing is like starting by building a core idea and informing the algorithms of social media, telling them this is what I want. And then from there, that's when you start using it to your advantage to build your list. And then from there, just go into the website's contact us page, get all the emails, and there you have your list. And the bigger your list can be, obviously the better, but I would say start by focusing on quality, really on having that identity and having that agenda set really firmly, and then building from that, rather than reaching out to a bunch of platforms with like a generic email, and then I guarantee you your rate of return of reply is going to be really low, because there are so many independent artists out there who are doing the same thing, who are paying money to like independent, like these like independent lead lists, where they can just get the entire list of all of these media platforms and are just like spamming them. I have been on the receiving end of that. It is not fun. I can spot spam from a mile away, and I can spot an artist who doesn't suit what someone like Asian Pop Weekly is looking for from a mile away as well. So yes, my suggestion to you as an independent artist is to really hone in on that key area that you're looking for. And if you're someone who is trying to enter a new market, then I would also suggest to look at maybe like industry resources, like for example Gig Life Pro. They are a great resource across Southeast Asia and a bit of Greater China as well, where they have different media platforms that they work with, and they feature them regularly, so you can have an idea of what kinds of media platforms are present in different countries to help you to get your foothold. You can also ask friends, or try and find artists in those territories. You should be doing research anyway if you're going to try and get into those markets. You should have some collaborators that you can ask, or friends, what kinds of media platforms they might recommend. And then honestly, just go on a deep dive. Like, that's the best way for me to find leads for any artists that I might be helping with publicity stuff, or even when I'm looking for artists at my job to partner with as well. It's really the same. The concept is the same. It's really just about doing it really efficiently and really setting your agenda from the beginning. So that was my little spiel for today. I'm going to keep it short for this one, but in our next episode, I'm going to be talking about how to craft a great email so that when you're reaching out to these media platforms or these partners, these people will actually want to reply and hopefully work with you as well. So that's it for today's episode. Please do follow us on our Patreon page. You can subscribe under Level Up Podcast if you want supplementary materials that come with each of these episodes, including the transcripts, blah, blah, blah. And please do follow us on at Asian Pop Weekly on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to follow along for all the cool things that we are up to. Please leave us a review if you enjoyed this podcast so that we can keep running. And of course, at any time, reach out to us if you have feedback. Looking forward to leveling up with you next time. The Level Up podcast is brought to you jointly by Blossoming Bridge Creative and Asian Pop Weekly. Be sure to follow on our socials at Asian Pop Weekly, and also check out our website if you're looking for more Mandarin or Asian music content. If you like what you're hearing on this podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and we'll see you on the next one.